So we've been at this for over 2 years, which is, I think, again, something we never imagined in the beginning. As we weren't just putting out content, we had become a full-fledged 501c3 nonprofit organization, because that allowed us to reach more people, provide more resources, partner with other organizations, be able to access grants, that were responsive to various COVID needs, mental health needs, those kinds of things. So we became a full-fledged nonprofit organization, which really just sort of expanded what we could do and how many families and parents we could reach. We are now at the point, though, of recognizing, this was always meant to be a crisis responsive organization, not go on forever. Our hope was to meet a need while the need was there in real time, but also to recognize, when it's time to move on to other things. So we've created, hundreds of resources, video clips, episodes, infographics. Yeah, there's just so many things. I get overwhelmed in a great way when I sit back and think about all of the content we've been able to produce for people, again, always keeping it free, publicly available and accessible. And those resources will live on. But as an organization, we've been doing some important soul searching with our team, with our board, to recognize, when is it time, to wrap up the organizational side of things. I think this is going to totally date us, but I wanted to be like Seinfeld and know when it was time to also kind of go out on a positive note while things are still, helpful and available to people, but not keep our proverbial doors open forever.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think the whole time you and I have been really clear about what our areas of expertise are and what they're not. And so there are certainly aspects of our research that concern parenting, but we are not like parenting expert. We have the connections, we bring on people, we talk to them, we share lots of the developmental and clinical psychology research that's relevant. But once we started brainstorming, like about thinking about a new name for our organization and everything, we realized we were kind of potentially stepping out of our comfort zone of what we felt comfortable talking about, which is more like coping with these negative experiences, dealing with crisis trauma that might have been happening during the pandemic. And so that was another reason to make way for some other like parenting experts and really, have kept our focus on this issue of pandemic parenting. Those resources that Amanda mentioned, they're all still available. They will remain accessible.
Yeah. And that was part of our goal, is a lot of the content we were creating and conversations we were having, of course, go far beyond the pandemic, right? Parents are always going to have questions about their kids' anxiety, or having conversations about difficult things with their children, or parents' mental health, their teens' mental health. Like so many of these topics, yeah, there were parts of it that were related to the pandemic, but much of it was just questions we have about, parenting when our kids are dealing with really difficult things, or we're dealing with difficult things. So I think knowing that was our goal, was to create resources that could live on far beyond the organization. But I think your point about us staying in our lane is an important one. Like that, it goes to the authenticity of the work that you and I do, the integrity we have around our research, and what our limits are to our expertise, and just sort of recognizing where it makes sense to, bring in our voices, or the voices of many of our colleagues and other experts, and where it makes sense to step aside and say, okay, we did a good thing for a while. We hope that we were able to help a lot of people. We hope these resources continue to help people when they're Googling things in the middle of the night. But there are also, it's also time for us to be able to focus back on some of our other work in the other roles that we play in our lives.